Welcome back. This is a shot of history. Today we will be discussing Fort Delaware, which is located on Pea Patch Island in between the states of Delaware and New Jersey. Now, in order to get to Pea Patch Island, you actually need to take a ferry ride from Delaware City over to the main island of Pea Patch. It's not a long ride, it's only about a half mile to get from the mainland to the island itself. But it was a pretty fun ride to have to actually get there. Now, once you get there, you do have to walk up this pier to get to the mainland. And it was pretty cool. This was a wonderful experience to actually walk down here to see the craftsmanship, just to actually get to the island, to experience it off in the distance. As you can see here, it begins to come into view. And once you finish the walk, you do have to get on a tram for the rest of the way. And they kind of break it down and they explain to you the wildlife of this particular area, how the marsh became to be. But before this was a beautiful museum, before the tram rides, before the pier was made, this was a part of American history. This was a part, played a major role in the Civil War itself. Fort Delaware was actually constructed to protect the ports of Philadelphia, Wilmington, Delaware, Newcastle, Delaware, because they had a lot of goods that they needed to exchange, and they wanted to ensure that those goods were still able to come into the country. So they did protect those ports. So it was built to protect that. And after that, during the Civil War, it played another major role. It actually housed the prisoners from the South, and those conditions that they housed them in were not that great. In 1862, it was about 3,500 people, prisoners, that they captured and they placed here at Fort Delaware. In between July of that year, they did go down to about 123 prisoners due to negotiation between the South and the North, making sure that people got home, making sure that people returned back to their life. However, the following year in 1863, the prison population just exploded. They had over 13,000 people on this tiny island. And this was before it became the 300 acres that it is today. It was 75 acres that they had these 13,000 people on. In addition to the prisoners, they also had guards there that had to come and actually watch them. But yeah, needless to say that, yeah, the conditions weren't that great. Most of the prisoners came from the Battle of Vicksburg and Gettysburg. Yes, that famous Gettysburg that we all know so well. And because of the explosion of prisoners, they had to make quick barracks. They had to build places to house them and actually had to pay for guards to get them. And that many people in a cramped location, you can expect the unexpected. Smallpox, lice, bed bugs, you name it, they were there. Rats running around, everything. The conditions were absolutely deplorable. As a result, 1,500, excuse me, 2,500 people lost their lives. Not 1,500, but 2,500 people lost their lives. It's amazing it wasn't more. But once you get there, you can see the stonework of the actual fort itself. It is surrounded by a small moat. Um, it's actually very beautiful. It really is, inside and out. Has a peaceful ambiance on the outside, and yeah, I was actually a little shocked. But once I got inside, I felt like I took a trip back to the past. This field that they have here, they do a lot of Civil War reenactments on. Like you can see how the South and the North would have actually fought. Thank goodness that the North won. But yeah, the mess hall that they used to eat at, they did convert into a gift shop and also a memorabilia so that you can see some of the artifacts that was left over from that time: locks, keys, pottery, door hinges, as you can see here in this footage. And this model is an exact replica of what the fort would have looked like during that Civil War time. And as you can see, it's not a lot of land there to hold house 13,000 prisoners. And unfortunately, this was actually done at the time. It wasn't working, it was broken, but this actually explains more as to the functions and what was done at each one of the locations that you can kind of see here on the model and stuff. I wish it had worked, but nonetheless, it didn't stop the tour. As you can see, this is a walking tour. No one's riding it. It's me walking through the fort. And unfortunately, some of the areas have been closed off due to poor conditions and other things as well. But the cannons that you see there were actually used to guard this fort against the invaders of the South or anyone. And this is a perfect lookout point on this fort that you can actually almost get a complete 365-degree angle of the entire river. so that anyone coming back to actually attack or anyone approaching would definitely be spotted from this vantage point here. It was awesome to see. And again, unfortunately, some areas you can't actually access because it is actually quarantined off, like you can't get to it. This right here that you see is an actual for one of the generals. Like they lived in this area here. Like you can see, this would have been their dining room. Over here, you do get to see their luxury bedroom. This was before um, the luxuries that we have today. This would definitely be before like flat screen televisions, air conditioners. This was considered state of the art. Wooden frame bed high off the floor. What more could a guy ask for back in that time? And I could not access this area, and I'm not sure. They did not explain if this was damaged due to the fort deteriorating or if this was actually done because of an attack. But I was not able to get to that upper level. And again, this was Fort Delaware, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the history lesson. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel. Every comment, tell me what you like, tell me what you didn't like. I definitely would be looking forward to it. But yeah, this was my trip to Fort Delaware. I hope you enjoy. Again, subscribe. Have a good day.